Determine all the names that match the diagram. Now it's going to be helpful to have a definition of most of these things. So a quadrilateral is just a four-sided shape. So if it's a four-sided shape, you can circle or select quadrilateral for all of them. A trapezoid is a four-sided shape, but it has a pair of parallel sides. So one set of parallel sides. A rhombus has two sets of parallel sides, and all sides are the same length. A parallelogram has two sets of parallel sides, but the length of the sides is not, they're not all the same. They don't all have to be the same. A square, all sides are parallel, all sides are the same length, and the corners create right angles. In a rectangle, two sets of sides are parallel, and the corners create right angles. A kite has two pairs of side lengths that are equal in measure, but those two sides are adjacent to each other. So the two sides that are the same length are touching each other. So in this first one, none of them are the same length, so that takes out the rhombus and the kite. And none of them are parallel, so that takes out the trapezoid. The only one that works here is it's a four-sided shape, so it is a quadrilateral. Go ahead and work through the remaining three problems, selecting the terms that match the diagram. This piece of artwork is considered a tessellation, and it's made up of all of the same shape, or two of the same shape, so all the blue ones are the same, and then all the green ones are the same. All of those are parallelograms. The green are a little bit thinner than the blue parallelogram. And you're going to be provided with a few minutes to try and draw your own tessellation. Just a simple one. You can use a ruler, a protractor, or the edge of a note card if that's helpful for you. And you're going to try and draw a tessellation. It does not need to be this complex. In your book, it says to draw the projected design. I'm going to allow my students to draw one of the selected ones. So here are some different options of tessellations that you can sketch. I'm going to attempt the hexagon with the triangles. All right, so clearly, with the skills or the accuracy that we have right now, with just using a ruler and no real guidance on how to draw these geometric figures, our sketch is definitely not going to look as clean or as accurate as if we had some extra skills or direction on how to draw these shapes. So if we had some information on how exactly to draw, say, a hexagon or an equilateral triangle, that would help us make it look a little cleaner. So it says for problems 2 and 3, use tools to draw the quadrilateral. Draw a parallelogram that is not a rhombus. We'll begin to draw our parallelogram with our ruler. So I'm going to use centimeters, and I'm going to draw my bottom line to be 5 centimeters. To create a parallelogram, we are going to use our protractor, and we're going to create an angle I'm going to choose 60 degrees. So I'm going to create a mark at 60. And then using my ruler, I'm going to extend along this line from my end point through that mark. Then over here, to create an angle that would be parallel to it, I'm going to use 180 minus 60, which is 120. So this angle here, 120. And again, I'm going to connect the end point through that mark that we created. So this angle here was 60, and this angle here was 120. Now, since it wants a parallelogram and not a rhombus, I need these sides to not equal 5 centimeters. So I'm going to put a mark at maybe 3 centimeters here, and a mark at 3 centimeters here. Then I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to connect those two marks to create my parallelogram. So these were 3 centimeters, and this was 5 centimeters, and 3 centimeters here. I can come back and erase those little extra pieces just to clean it up a little bit, but you don't necessarily have to. In problem 3, it asks us to draw a rhombus. So it is basically a parallelogram, but all sides are the same. So we'll start with our ruler again. This time I'm going to create a side length that is 4 centimeters. And we're going to line it up on the left. This time I want my angle to be 50 degrees. So I put my mark at 50. And I want this to be 4 centimeters also. So I'm lining it up with that mark, but I don't need to extend all the way to it. Then over here, if I used 50, 180 minus 50 is 130. So I'm going to line it up on the right-hand side. And I'm putting a dot at the angle mark 150, or sorry, 130. And then again, I'm going to connect as if I'm going through that point, but I'm only going to draw it 4 centimeters long. And then we connect the top pieces to each other. And it should also be 4 centimeters long. On page 29, you are asked to sort these cards into 2 categories. There are a few different ways that you can sort them. Just be ready to justify why you placed them in the two categories that you did. So for example, maybe you grouped B, A, F, and G together because they all have two sets of parallel sides. Or maybe you grouped G and A together because they have four side lengths that are the same. Or perhaps you grouped A, B, and D together because those three have right angles for some of the corners. For problems 4 through 8, use tools to construct the quadrilateral with given conditions. Mark the figure to indicate parallel sides and equal lengths when appropriate. Construct a quadrilateral that has 4 different side lengths and 4 different angle measures. Label the side lengths and angle measures. I'm going to start with a 3 centimeter side. I'm going to make this angle be 30. I'm going to make this side length be something different than 3 centimeters. I'll make it be 5 centimeters. I'm going to make this angle be, well, actually, let's see. We'll connect somewhere at the top. Come on, get out of the way. We'll make this angle be 130. And we'll make it be 4.5. Actually, let's make it be 2 centimeters. And then we'll connect here to here. And this is about 1 or 0.9 centimeters. And then we'll measure the angles. So this one appears to be about 70. And so this whole thing should have 360 degrees. So if I subtract 130, that gives me 230. Then 230 minus the 30 from this one would be 200. And then 200 minus the 70 here would leave us with, 130. So these two angles, it says, should be the same. Well, if we go back to here and we make it a different measurement than 2 centimeters, that might help. Let's make it 3.5. Or 3.2. Then when we connect them, it still ended up being about 0.9. But this angle here appears to be about 49 degrees. So again, if we did 360 minus the 130 minus the 30 and minus the 49, that'll tell us how much is left for that third angle. So we have, well, 360 minus 130 would be 230, minus 30 would be 200, and minus 49 would be 151. There aren't any parallel sides to mark or any equal lengths. This one asks us to construct a trapezoid with a height of 6 centimeters. So the base size doesn't matter, but I'm going to create one that's 8 centimeters long. Then if I want a height of 6, heights go straight up and down, so I'm going to create a 90-degree angle coming off of this 8 centimeter side. So put a little mark at 90. Then it should be 6 centimeters. So from this bottom corner through that mark that we made for the 90-degree angle, we're going to extend it 6 centimeters. And then we need to create a parallel side here. So if this is 90, 90 plus 90 make 180. So I need a 90-degree angle coming out of here to create that other piece. So I'll pull up my protractor again. So we'll pull out our protractor again. We're going to line it up on that side there and create a mark at 90 because 90 plus 90 is 180. Then using our ruler, we're going to connect, making that side length 4.5 centimeters. Anything besides 8 will work. And then we're going to connect these two corners here to finish off the trapezoid. And then we also need to indicate that the sides are parallel, so we use those little arrow marks. Construct a rectangle that has the side lengths of 3 inches and 4 inches. So a rectangle is going to use 90-degree angles in all of the corners. If you have a set square, sometimes that's helpful. Otherwise, we're just going to use our protractor. So we're going to start by using the inch side, creating a 4-inch segment across the bottom. And we're going to create a 90-degree angle coming out of both of these sides here, or both of these points here. So there's the little mark for 90. And then do the same thing on the other side. Then we're going to rotate our ruler. And we're going to create a segment that is 3 inches on here. So connecting the end and lining it up through that point all the way to 3. And then the same thing over here on this side. All the way up to 3. And then using our straight edge or our ruler, we're going to connect to finish off the rectangle. This was 4 inches, and this was 3 inches. 4 inches and, 4 inches and 3 inches. These are all 90-degree angles. This side is parallel to this side, and this side is parallel to this side. Construct a square that has side lengths of 1.5 inches. To start off, you're going to draw a segment that is 1.5 inches long. Then coming off of both of those corners, you're going to create a mark at 90 degrees. Rotate your ruler. We're going to connect the end point with the mark that we made at 90, but we don't need to draw all the way up to it. We just need to go to 1.5. Do the same thing on the other side. Then connect them. Here I have 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches, and 1.5 inches. 90-degree angles in all the corners. This side is parallel to this side, and this side is parallel to this side. Construct a rhombus that has side lengths of 5.5 centimeters and 2 angles that measure 50 degrees. So we're going to start with a 5.5 centimeter line. Then we're going to create an angle that is 50 degrees. You're going to extend this line past that mark until you get 5.5 centimeters here also. Then to create a rhombus, it should have parallel lines. So if I have a 50 subtracted from 180 is 130. So the angle over here needs to be 130 degrees. So we'll put the mark right here at 130, and then we'll extend from that corner through that mark out 5.5 centimeters. There's 5.5. Then by the way that we've constructed it, we'll connect this side, and you can see it's 5.5 centimeters also. And this is a 130-degree angle, and this is a 50-degree angle. This side is parallel to this side, and this side is parallel to this side. Make sure your workbook is filled in with all of the constructions from this lesson, paying special attention to straight lines and specific angles.